Hey everybody, Brian Falchuk coming to you live again. I think this is night 4 in a row, or day 4. I'm very excited. I'm past the halfway mark on the 7-day challenge of going live every day for a week straight, and I'm doing okay. I want to talk to you about something that came up today. I was at an event, and actually someone who is a reader of my book and a follower of my work came up to me and did this great conversation about his attempts to move the needle in a number of areas of his life, and he has great success and great drive and results. And then after a month or 2 months, it starts to fall off. And he's like, and I can't regress, and I'm back where I was before, and I'm doing the thing that I had made all this progress, like going to the gym, New Year's resolution, get somewhere, and I'm feeling great about it, and then one thing leads to another and kind of stop. Or, changing the way I'm eating and doing great, and then little by little kind of fades off, and then I'm back where I was. And feeling not great about that. And so what it sparked in me was the need to talk about a couple of things. One is doing things in a sustainable way, and the other is whether you've really tapped into the driver of that change. There's really a third, is maybe that's the wrong thing for you to be focused on changing, but that's maybe a slightly different conversation. The first is doing things sustainably. Sometimes we get inspired, very thankful that my book inspired him, but we get inspired to make some big change in our life. And we have all this passion and energy about it, and we make that change, and it's great. We're so excited, and we move ahead. But it was maybe a bit of fleeting excitement, maybe a bit of willpower and motivation, but not quite true motivation. That's what I go into in such depth in Do a Day, is what is true motivation? How do you find it? How do you explore that and really tap into it for yourself? That's what you really need to be able to get to that lasting change. And so, maybe you feel a fire in your belly. If it's about like your wellness, your weight, or something like that, maybe you're really inspired to look and feel better in the moment. But you probably haven't explored that deeper why. And so what you've done is you pushed yourself really far, really hard, really fast. And what you've done that in a way that is not sustainable. So maybe you're like, I'm doing an hour of hardcore cardio every day, and it's like, well, when you've got that initial fire in you, that's awesome. But when some of the realities of day-to-day come in, is that too much? Is it too hard? Is it sustainable? Are you trying to go every day, and the reality is like you need a couple of days of recovery mixed in there? Or, whatever it might be, when you go cold turkey, sometimes that's too much. And you may have to ease into it, or you may have to look at, are there baby steps I can take or pieces of the puzzle that I can look at before just saying I'm going to change everything all at once. And so there was a bit of like, maybe you bit off too much at the beginning. I get this when people talk to me about going vegan, and they're like, so inspiring. I just went for it, and you went for it, and you did it in a day, and I should be able to do the same. It's like, look, that's me. That's what I did in my situation. But I also had my reason behind it. I had something to tap into. So I was able to make that complete shift in that moment. And I had a lot of clarity on what Do a Day means and why I was able to really box the whole thing into, I'm just not eating animal-based products right now, without having to think about every day in my future. And maybe you're not ready for that yet. Maybe it's too much. So, he did tell me one of the things he did was he cut out soda. Or for other people, it's cutting out alcohol. And he's like, I cut out soda, and in the course of like a month or whatever, I lost 9 pounds. Like, it just fell off. And, that's a great place to start. Is like, pick a thing. Pick one specific thing that you can focus on and start with that. When you make progress there, you'll find the next. Some people can change everything all at once. More power to them. Some people can't. One is not better than the other. What you want is when you change something, it's changed. You're not fighting against it. It's like I always say when I talk about my obesity, and the way I viewed it for so long was like I was constantly hyper-focused on staying not fat rather than just being fit. It was more about what I was trying not to be. It was consuming my thoughts. It affected all of my active thoughts about food, either the choices I was making or the way I felt about the choices I wish I hadn't made. And that's kind of a miserable way to exist. And so my weight was this constant thing that I constantly had to stay on top of and constantly felt really a prisoner to. And so I described myself as, I spent the first half of my life obese and the second half trying not to be, which is not a great way to define your life. And then I discovered a different way to look at things. And I found a vegan diet, thanks to the inspiration from Rich Roll, who I talked about last night. That basically took managing my weight out of the equation. Nothing I do has to do with my weight anymore. My weight just is what it is. It's where it needs to be. I'm very healthy, and it's not something I actively have to think about. So I moved to something that's sustainable, and that involved a mind shift. So think about those pieces, whether you push too hard and where what you're really asking yourself is like, you got to grit your way through it. Chances are that's not going to be sustainable. You might get to that place eventually, but starting there, once the fire cools off, then you got a problem, right? That can be really hard. So the other point was, I just said, the fire cooling off. Maybe you haven't found the fire. So you've got a bit of like instantaneous motivation and instantaneous drive. Maybe you saw something or experienced something that really got you going, but you haven't tapped into why it got you going. You haven't tapped into what actually matters to you. And so that's why, 2 weeks in on that really big change, or 3 weeks in, or 4 weeks in, or 6 months, or whatever it is, that fire's not there anymore because you didn't really figure out how to latch onto it and keep it there. And so it's faded. And now you're doing something that is really hard. And it's very conscious and maybe exhausting. And maybe you're not quite ready for it. And you don't have that thing inside to dig for. Dig deep. It's the thing you're digging for. You don't have that thing to bring you back to center and to push you ahead. So you do need to find that motivation so that you can latch on in those tough moments. So you can remember why you're making the change in the first place, because then it won't feel like a change. It feels like who you are and how you live. That's really important. So the two lessons there, and the thing that I want people to reflect on is, are you trying to do too much, too soon, too strongly, in a way that's maybe not sustainable? Is there another way you can structure things so you create sustainability and growth instead of trying to smack yourself in the face all at once? And if you do that, you're probably going to end up judging yourself, which is not a very helpful thing when you're trying to be more positive and live a more positive and enjoyable life. And the second, and definitely most important, is, have you truly reflected on why you're trying to make these changes in the first place? I obviously recommend Do A Day for helping you get there. You can also check out my Big Why exercise. That's really helpful as well. BrianFalchuk.com/why. BrianFalchuk.com/the exercise. That's what the link is. You can download that for free and just have a go at it. Think about what really matters to you and reflect on it. And if you find yourself having trouble with the change, ask those questions. Have I broken it down into bite-sized pieces that are sustainable and that I can get through? And why am I really doing this? Is it more fleeting, or is it true motivation? Is it deep within me? Is it enduring? Is it, at that core? Like, could it bring me to my knees? Or is it something that's external, something that's material, something that isn't really operating at the values level? Ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself, if nothing else, like, what really matters to me? And is that what you're in touch with? So that's my challenge for today. That's what I want you guys thinking about. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Join in, give me your thoughts. What are you struggling with? What are you succeeding with? And why? There's no judgment. There's nothing wrong with either of those things. Exploring it has so much value. That's what I want to ask you to do. So I'm going to leave it there. You can always get more at BrianFalchuk.com, doadaybook.com, doadaybook.com/podcast. Follow the podcast, get inspiration from all the amazing people I've been blessed to get to know. All right. Have a great night, great day, whatever it is for you, and be well. Bye-bye.